Hello and welcome to ED Insight, where we get you a 360-degree view of the big picture in business and economy. I am Sridhar Ramakrishnan. On the show today, India's booming population is consuming more and more, but its cities are nowhere close to managing the thousands of tons of waste generated by households. No doubt your electronic toys such as mobile phones and computers make life easier, but they're also environmental time bombs. And while India sleeps, the world is dumping its most hazardous waste on India's shores. At top story first, tons and tons of garbage pile up every day in every corner of the country. And guess who's managing all this waste? Well, it's largely rag pickers. There's no segregation of waste, and laws for managing waste remain largely on paper. The one and only silver lining to this sad story is that nearly 60% of all waste generated is organic. But again, all this waste is left to rot in open landfills. Prem Shankar finds out why waste management in India is not dumped.
As India marches ahead on the road to becoming a fully developed country, large parts of its rural population are streaming to urban areas, meaning cities are expanding. Consumption is spiking sharply, and the amount of waste generated is monumental. India is struggling to deal with waste management. Collection, transportation, recycling and disposal pose problems for every civic authority. The Municipal Solid Waste Management Rules of 2000 came into effect in January 2004, outlining new methods for civic bodies to manage waste better. But unfortunately, the law still treats waste management as a linear process rather than a cyclical one, meaning that recycling in an eco-friendly fashion is still not given priority.
We need to improve our waste collection system, waste segregation system, and waste disposal system. We need to have a mindset where we can have a methodology which ensures the efficient collection of solid waste from our municipalities.
Experts say that India is expected to generate 1.25 lakh metric tons of waste by 2030 as opposed to the current 40,000 metric tons. With this backdrop, the current status of waste management in the country is especially frightening, leaving most with visions of mountains of garbage. Take the national capital for instance. Delhi generates 7,000 metric tons of solid waste every day. Of this, 6,000 metric tons is dumped in 3 landfills in the city over an area of 116 acres. Only 400 metric tons is turned into compost or organic manure that can be reused. The rest remains in the landfills.
दो प्रोजेक्ट हमारे चल रहे हैं, दो जगह हम मैन्योर बना रहे हैं और एक जगह इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं, पर और अधिक नजदीक लगाने पड़ेंगे ताकि पूरी दिल्ली के कूड़े को हम कन्वर्ट कर सकें.
Currently, one plant is in operation in Balaswa to convert waste into compost. 2 more waste-to-compost plants are being set up at Okla and APMC Tikri. The Delhi government also proposes to set up 2 waste-to-energy plants in Okla and Timarpur too. Delhi municipal authorities are also trying to set up 2 more landfills or dump yards at Jaitpur and Pabana over 175 acres of land. But environmentalists are angry about this move. They say burning garbage to produce energy or dumping waste in landfills shows the government is living in denial. They want waste to be recycled.
If paper, you segregate paper can be recycled. If paper is recycled, you save trees. And why you make so much hue and cry about plastics? Plastics are not causing harm. It's human habits. We throw it anywhere.
Shifting focus from Delhi to Mumbai, the city that holds the dubious title of the biggest waste generator. Here, over 10 million people generate 8,000 metric tons of waste every day. That means half a kilogram of refuse generated per person every day. Most of this waste goes into 3 dumping yards which cover 383 acres of land. A small 100 metric tons is processed into vermicompost every day. The Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika or the BMC has roped in NGOs and residential organizations to segregate and recycle waste at the source. But not everyone does it. And as people continue to stream into the city, the BMC is struggling to catch up because the existing landfills are simply not enough.
This landfill is not the only way to acquire more land. India cannot afford more land for MSWs.
Mumbai's neighbour Ahmedabad generates over 2,000 metric tons of waste every day. Of this, a quarter is recycled by a private firm, Excel Industries, which turns organic waste into manure through a microbial culture process. The rest of the garbage goes into thousands of acres of landfill at Tirana.
They have been making good attempts to the door-to-door collection of the waste, in segregating the waste, the debris waste goes elsewhere, etc. Of late, they also started the practice of collecting the restaurant waste. So there is reasonably segregated pure organic matter which can be given to companies like ours for converting into compost or energy or whatever.
The Ahmedabad government has proposed setting up of an incinerator to dispose of the accumulating garbage in the city, and this poses stark environmental concerns for the burgeoning city. Just like in Cochin, where the civic authorities have formed the Cochin Waste to Energy Private Limited, a firm that takes care of waste disposal in the coastal city. This is a public-private partnership that uses the gasification process to convert 375 metric tons of waste into reusable energy. Like in the other metros, in Cochin too, only a small percentage of waste generated is recycled. The rest of it goes into a landfill in the city.
The revenue stream has to be proper, and only then a project will be viable. Otherwise, we'll just have projects, be set up and then it's not sustainable, closes down after some time because it becomes unviable for the promoter to run the project. So the mentality of the people also has to change, and they have to realize that there is a cost in disposing the waste.
Next in line is Bangalore, which is struggling with population explosion because of the growth in the IT industry. 4 years ago, the Karnataka Compost Development Corporation was processing most of Bangalore's organic waste into compost. But now the state government has been at a loss for methods to tackle the 2,500 metric tons of waste generated every day. 800 metric tons of the total waste generated in the city is turned into organic compost by private firms like Terra Pharma and Sunrise Enterprises, along with the state-owned Karnataka Compost. 1,700 metric tons is dumped daily into 4 landfills covering 111 acres.
Scientific landfill means it has to design, engineering design, the inert material after processing the entire garbage, after recycling, after composting, whatever it is. The final inert disposal material should go to landfill.
Chennai generates more waste than its neighbour Bangalore. 3,700 metric tons of waste created by its 50 lakh residents. The average Chennaiite manages to make half a kilo of waste every day. 3,100 metric tons of this waste is dumped in landfills at Perungudi and Kodingiyur, over 1,000 acres of land. The civic body has woken up to the pressing issue of garbage disposal and laid the foundation stone for a solid waste management treatment plant at Perungudi in July this year.
The idea of disposal system is that it should work like a factory. Presently, garbage is going in and nothing is coming out. So what we intend is that garbage will go in, it will get processed, it will get converted into compost, recyclable pallets and bales, and then bricks, and then it will be taken away. Maybe 5 or 10% only will remain, 90 to 95% will just go away.
As city civic bodies gear up to tackle the growing menace of waste disposal, they appear to be making bigger mistakes, like incineration of the waste, thereby releasing poisonous chemicals in the air and effluents into rivers and lakes.
It's a classic case of missing the woods for the trees. India needs stringent laws to protect its ecology and environment. Polluting the air and water to get rid of its solid waste is simply not a sustainable solution.
It's not just the municipal solid waste that's crying out for a sustainable solution. The TV that you're watching me on could also pose an environmental threat. We'll tell you how after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching ED Insight. Electronic waste or e-waste is a growing concern globally. And unfortunately, India is all set to overtake China as a generator of e-waste. So what are consumers and marketers of everything from mobile phones to TV sets to everyday appliances doing to recycle them? Well, as Prem Shankar finds out, very little.
It's the daily grind. Start the day with a call from your boss, rush to work for hours tapping away at the computer, get back home, chat with friends again later at night. What you don't think about is what happens to these gadgets once they stop working. Because that's when the real story begins.
Most of it is being recycled in the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector, just to give you a flavor of what happens there, see, most of the precious metals are concentrated in the motherboards of any electronic item. So that motherboard is basically taken out and put into a cyanide plus sulfuric acid pond. Some gold particles get to the top. They are removed. and the remaining solution is dumped in the nearby water stream, which is extremely hazardous and dangerous, right? So most of the e-waste gets recycled in very, very poor, pathetic conditions in India.
3 years ago, an international corporation called GTZ published a report assessing the e-waste scenario in India. A whopping 4 lakh tons of e-waste was being generated from discarded computers, laptops, mobile phones, TVs, refrigerators and washing machines. A 2010 report by the Ministry of Environment and Forests estimates the e-waste generation in the country could exceed a whopping 8 lakh tons by 2012. The quantum of e-waste generated in the country is equal to the amount imported illegally. Activists are worried about the health implications.
So everybody makes money in this process. Let's say a computer costs around 200, sold by a normal household, but at the end of the day, it generates about rupees 2,000 for everybody in chain. So it's a win-win situation for everybody, but against the environment and health of the people who are working.
And the problem is growing at an incredible pace. The consumption of personal computers and laptops in the country has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of 16% since 2005. As for mobile phones, India adds 2 million mobile phone users every month.
India is the second largest generator of electronic waste, and the rate at which the Indian economy is growing, in all likelihood, we could become the largest producer of e-waste.
The Indian middle class has bounced back from recession. Surplus incomes have ensured huge consumption of electrical and electronic appliances. A McKinsey report projects the Indian middle class to number 583 million people by 2025. And by 2020, about 30% of India's population will be between 25 and 44 years of age, the earning and spending population. And industry expects sales in computers to grow by 12% in the next 1 year alone, and 26% growth in notebook sales.